Welcome to the ATS Product, Tech, Science, and UX podcast. In each episode, we sit down with leaders across ATS to learn more about them and their roles within Amazon. From the ATS brand team, here's today's episode.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the ATS podcast. I'm Scott Mason, and I'm a principal research scientist in ATS, and I lead the SortTech science team. I'll be your host for the day, and today I'm talking with Golbarg Tutunchi, a senior research scientist in ATS who leads a team within Surface Research Scientists. Welcome, Golbarg.
Hi, Scott. Thanks for having me.
You bet. So let's get started. So can you tell me a little bit about your career path? How did you get to where you are today?
Sure. I started my PhD program at North Carolina State University around 2011. So I did my graduate studies and undergrad both in operations research, and moving to US, I started as a graduate student at NC State, the same program, operations research, with focusing on discrete optimization, mainly on the covering problems with conflicts. So it might be very familiar, typical problems for many of the OR students. So while I was doing my PhD at NC State, it was my third semester, I believe, I came across a flyer for hiring an intern at a company named Statistical Analysis Software, which was a local company there. It was a big analytical company, and many of my friends used to work there as interns or full-time. So while I was browsing through Flyer, what caught my eye is the team that was hiring, which was called a Center of Excellence in Operations Research. I was curious to see what this team does, and after doing some research, it turns out that this team has a unique setting, being part of R&D at SAS, the company, and also working with external customers. This was very close to my heart, that to see how these things that we are learning at school are getting utilized in real life and making impacts there. So I applied, and luckily I got accepted through that program, which turns out to basically covering my whole PhD program starting third semester till graduation. So it was a year-round program. It was a very nice setting that I get exposed to working with the OR solver that company was building. So I was working very closely with the OR developers, a group of very brilliant people. Some of them are currently working together with them even in Amazon. But at the same time, we have been doing some sort of external consulting, which we were solving problems for different industries like retail, fashion, media, and even we worked on the problem which was optimizing casino floor for some of the casinos in Vegas. And at the same time, we did have very interesting initiatives for nonprofit organizations, which was very close to my heart. And I wish that I can make some room to continue that work, which was for animal shelters, or now that I'm a new mom, which is for the milk bank. That was one of the initiatives that worked. So through this experiment, I get exposed to a lot of industries and get real life experience. But what I learned through that few years of internship, that transportation industry has the most challenging problems, both from the business side and also from the technical side. After graduation, for a few years, for I would say 3.5 years, almost 4 years, I continued working full-time in the same team, exploring interesting problems. And then this opportunity at Amazon came along, that within Middle Mile, the same team that I'm currently in, focusing on the transportation problems. And that was a very unique and specialized group of people working in this setting. And I thought that this is a great opportunity. So that's how I am here right now with you guys.
Okay. Well, that makes great sense. I mean, all of the time of the internship, you're working on practical applied problems, delivering results, working on real world things with that technical expertise that you picked up at NC State. So that actually makes a lot of sense to me how you've been so successful at Amazon, because, we are all about delivering results and implementing our decisions, which I find one of our most fascinating parts here at Amazon. So you mentioned the middle mile transportation. Can you tell me about what your team does here at Amazon?
Absolutely, Scott. Yes, our team in middle mile transportation, and not necessarily our team, and generally middle mile transportation features, this network features both full truckload operations and less than truckload operations. Currently, my team focuses on many of the operations within less than truckload network. Mainly the routing piece, which is fairly complex. I mean, like a lot of our students and people in our profession are very familiar with the vehicle routing problem. That is not the only piece that my team supports. At the same time, for Amazon Freight Less Than Truckload Network, my team proposes network design and scheduling components. This is the main focus of my team currently. But in addition to that, ever since that I joined Amazon, there was this initiative around trailer handoff optimization that I started working on that from literally day one. And we still keep continuing on that. And it turned out a very impactful product currently within Amazon. So yeah, at the high level, these are the main initiatives that currently my team is supporting.
It's great to hear that Amazon is actually using science to provide a better experience and hopefully get more drivers who want to stay with us. I mean, it's almost like our customer obsession is also becoming driver obsession. I love it.
Exactly.
Very cool.
Very good analogy.
So, with it's fascinating, the uncertainty, the different regions, the different businesses. It seems like your team is going places. It's growing. It's getting into new areas. If you were to ask 5 to 10 years from now, and the time frame isn't specific, but where do you see your team going in the future?
Sure. There's a lot of discussions. I mean, this think big is something that's very close to especially research teams' heart. So we always think every year that we are planning for that year, we revisit our multi-year plans to see if our immediate steps are aligned with that. So on the LTL network, that's growing, I would say, very fast. We are onboarding many different use cases. Currently, we have been basically focusing on middle mile, but we are going beyond our org and just offering our tools to other partners. But that opens up big research questions. How are we going to manage the capacity? Because the capacity would be shared between different resources. And at the same time, how are we going to deal with the pricing of this component? So there are big research initiatives we are starting or planning to start to address all of these questions.
Interesting. And I can hear it in your voice, but what makes you proud to be on this team, to lead this team, besides the fact that, you're doing awesome work that's really benefiting our customers? What makes Golbarg tick when it comes to, I'm just so grateful to be on this team?
Absolutely. Yes, I truly am grateful. And not only is specific to my team currently, but I'll go beyond that and I look into our larger team, like basically Team Jacobs org. I would say that the one thing that really brings me passion and joy and makes me proud to be part of this team is the people that I get to interact on my day-to-day professional life. I mean, these are a group of extremely brilliant people that they are willing to lend hand whenever the occasion comes up. So it's a constant learning opportunity for every scientist, I would say, within our team, and including myself as well. So working within my smaller team, working with each of these individuals and having this whiteboarding session, discussion with them, there's always something that I can learn from them. This constant learning, I don't think that is something that comes along very easily, but that's something that's always available. And the attitude of people, the willingness to help, and the time that, you're part of Amazon and you know how busy our days would look like. I'm really grateful for them carving out some time for this brainstorming session, regardless of how busy they are. So this culture of collaboration at the same time, that extreme talent and knowledge being available in this team, I think that is something that brings a lot of excitement for many people, including me. In addition to that, I think the ownership that my team takes in delivering the results for customers, I think that's also something that I cannot, undermine it.
Yeah, and I think that makes a lot of sense. And you said something that really resonates with me, this continuous or constant learning. And in that mind, I've had a lot of cases where I've learned by failing. I tried something and it didn't work. Can you talk about, on your team, how is failure treated or embraced? How does it help you drive towards newer and better solutions?
Sure. Our team, we are research scientists and we are part of a research team. And research by nature is defined by learnings and, in other words, with the failures. So unlike academic research studies that we can take and we can basically focus on the problem for a few months and we do have that luxury to drive things at our pace. But at a fast-paced environment like Amazon that our customers are currently trying to basically, our tech partners, product partners, but customer, that's what I mean by our product partners, they want to deliver impacts to external customers, for their delivering on time or making this driver experience better, and all of this piece comes into place. That takes us that luxury of doing research for a few months and taking it into production. So that's why the way that research runs within our work, within our org is many iterations. It's a very iterative process, such that we end up within a few months or so, after a couple iterations, we do have this solid products that's scaled throughout the whole network and generating not only impact for business, but also making all the shipments smoother and making deliveries faster for the customers.
Very interesting. Let's shift gears a little bit. You've talked a lot about your team and Amazon. I want to talk a little bit more about yourself. I mean, clearly you've got the technical expertise. You mentioned your North Carolina State Wolfpack education and your work at SAS, but are there any unexpected skills that have made you successful or contributed to your success that other people might not have or people might not think about at first thought?
Sure. Yeah, I think that's going to sound a bit weird, but we all keep hearing from in different articles and different business meetings that it's business and don't take things too personally. So one thing that I do which there is some drawback to that, but I think that has helped me so far, was taking things. I'm not a big believer of it's not business, don't take it too personal. Sometimes in our interactions, taking a look at the personal perspective of things helps us communicate and work with people better. So I believe that there are personal touches to many of the things that we do throughout the day. Basically, that is something that I think that I do relatively well, that while I'm interacting, especially with my team, I try to be vigilant about how do people feel doing this work or doing their daily job. Because I believe that people should feel comfortable within that environment, feel that they belong to that environment to be productive in their work. So that's why I will pay extra attention. Is this person happy, frustrated? There are, of course, things that they are within my capacity, and there are many things that's beyond my capacity. But I try to pay attention to those things that I can address. Is there anything personal going on with this person that I need to be aware of? Or is there any flexibility that I can offer without impacting the business too much, but at least making room for this person to operate and be productive better? So I feel not ignoring that personal part of collaboration, I think that is something that helped me a lot, both while I was working as a scientist and, of course, now that I'm taking the new track of being a science manager. I think those have been extremely helpful for me.
Absolutely. I think that's wonderful because you're actually fostering a more inclusive environment by checking in on your folks, seeing how they're doing. So I like that a lot. As a manager myself, I think that's a great tip. I've starting my meetings, my one-on-ones, by just talking about personal pleasantries, nothing about business, but kind of checking in with the folks.
Exactly.
It sounds very similar. Okay. Mm-hmm. Very nice. Well, I'm very excited to ask the next question because you said at the very beginning you're a new mom, and I'm super happy for you. And as a family person myself, I have to ask, how are you managing work-life balance on your team? And it probably maybe hasn't changed with your new child. Maybe it hasn't, but can you talk about work-life balance?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely has been changed. And I would love to share with you my part of the story. So in our team, before getting into my personal experience, in our team throughout I would say it's about 3 years that I have been part of this team. This has been a very important topic for my leaders, and they have been putting all the effort to address this throughout years. So working with science team and also working with our partners, we are being extra cautious in how we are defining our roadmaps. We try to account for all of the events that one person might have. Like, for example, if when someone wants to take a vacation, we account for that. We do not plan for full 52 weeks without accounting. Okay, there might be issues like sickness might come up, or there might be personal times that people would want to take. So that workload and defining roadmap and communicating that roadmap to our partners, tech partners, business partners, to our customers, has put us in a place that we are making every day an improvement toward having this balance within our team. In addition, the flexibility that my leaders, and also I'm trying to provide that to my team as well, is that there might be one person might have sometime within I don't know, from 4 to 5 that they have to do something, pick up their kids from school or do something, or there are some people are more productive toward the evening time. So that flexibility that we give to people to basically frame their work around their hours, around the hours that they're comfortable with, I think that has been a big help, not only for myself, but I also keep hearing from my team as well. So in my new experience, I think that has been a big change. I mean, previously, this is my first child, so world was much different prior to having a baby. So through that, I mean, my daughter is 4.5 months. First of all, I'm very grateful for Amazon maternity leave that provided for first 3 months that I have been with my baby. I was able to basically get things sorted out, make the bonding that I wanted, find the proper childcare for my daughter. But after coming back to work, it was a bit of a unique experience. So my leader, first of all, understand that situation very well. And also my colleagues have been very collaborative with me as well. And they sometimes had meetings stretch out of 5 o'clock. But now they know that given my childcare system that I'm using, I have a hard stop at 5. So people are honoring that very much. And we are not basically setting up meetings that interfere with that. And at the same time, there might things comes up throughout the day or early in the morning. But after, for example, putting my daughter down after 7 p.m., so I do have this amount of time that got back to some of those emails or things that my team is waiting on me. So this communication and the flexibility that my leaders are offering for me, my colleagues are accounting for that, and my team is collaborating, put me in a very comfortable shape that I would say that I'm very happy with this 1.5 months of being a working mom.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that's great to hear. I mean, my own team is across multiple time zones. And to your point, sometimes, if I'm eating dinner, my team respects that. They're not asking me to meet in the middle of my dinner time, but I can be flexible to both balance my work with my personal life. And it's great to hear that you're juggling that. Of course, all moms are superstars, in my opinion, and multitasking and time management is incredibly great. So it's
Absolutely.
great to hear.
You touched on a good thing as well. This time management, that's also, I would like to take it from the reverse direction. That's something that helps me as being a mom, that I owe that skill that I learned through Amazon. I mean, Amazon being that fast-paced environment makes us very sensitive to time and just making very vigilant decisions around how we are going to prioritize. How are we going to use our time? So I feel that I'm very grateful for Amazon for building that skill throughout few years of working in here. That actually has been super helpful in my personal life as well. We can prioritize things better because having kids and just having a full-time work, it could be a lot of work. So we need to prioritize better. So that's something that I see the value in my day-to-day life as well.
Absolutely. So when I think about Amazon, one of the things that I really enjoy here is our leadership principles and how they really resonate with me in my life. I think we have 16 of them now. So I'll be curious, is there an LP, a leadership principle that has helped define or shape your career and or your personal life?
One of the leaders, I think there's I'm very impressed with these leadership principles and how impactful each of those. And as I'm getting more senior in Amazon, I realize the value of those, again, not in only my professional life, but also in my personal life as well. But among all of those, one of them that's closest to my heart is earning trust. So I feel this is not only work specific, but it is true for every single relationship that we have, that as long as we can't earn our audience, our customers, our partners trust, that influence that we want to make, that impact that we want to make is not going to be there. In Amazon, we, especially in optimization team, we work on challenging problems. We put complex approaches in place. We make big impactful numbers on paper. But as long as we don't foster that relationship with the customers, that earning their trust, those numbers, those impact that we are after would not be reflected in people's lives. So this earning trust is very close to my heart. And I try to basically, I don't assume that I'm perfect at it. So it's always a learning curve. So I start by asking feedback from the people that I'm working with, especially with my team, if they have any specific feedback for me to basically things that they might think that I'm not doing right. So that also generates the trust that with my reports, and also my leaders do the same with us. And one thing that might sound sometimes awkward is basically talking about the mistakes and failures that we do. But in Amazon, we openly talk about it. And that is something that I do my best to be very candid with at least people that I'm working with. If there is some failures happening or there are things that I could have done better, be vocal around it. And being a good listener also contribute to that. I think I have seen impact not only in my professional life, but also personal life as well.
Very nice. When we talked before about an unexpected skill that made you successful, you talked about, taking things personally, but not in a bad way. I want to build on that. When I think about the inclusivity at Amazon and how we're working to build a more diverse and inclusive work environment, is there an inclusion tip that comes to mind or something you might suggest that really has helped you?
Sure. I think that's aligned whatever I have mentioned so far. I think one of the inclusion tips that's very close to my heart is fostering the sense of belonging in the workplaces. So I feel like people, I was actually very lucky throughout two experiences that I had, both at SAS and here at Amazon, that I have been surrounded with a bunch of people bunch of leaders and managers and also senior colleagues that they generated that environment for me. And when I feel that I belong to somewhere, I think it's not just work. It never comes up that, it's not my business. I don't need to deal with this work. I feel accountable for everything there. So I think that is something that most leaders, and now that I'm taking this management job, I need to be better at it, because it's not only a human thing. I feel that's an organizational asset as well. Belonging and being accepted, being valued, being respected by your colleagues. That was something that brings joy to people's life. And they wake up every morning, they're excited to start that work. And that's something that I truly want for my team. And in my team, not only my team, in people interactions, there are all sorts of people. And some people are willing to share and they make connections themselves and they feel that they're included part of the work. But not all the humans are the same. Sometimes, even at school, we have seen that people make friends very easily, but some people would require some effort to just make those connections. So I feel like encouraging connections would be a very good step towards that. And you touched on it, starting the meeting, making some personal comments with people and just sharing your story or asking some questions, breaking ice for them, and introducing them to other people on the call that they might not be part of it and that they might not have interactions so far. So this would be the very first step that I am trying to take. And I feel like that would foster this basically belonging sense within my team. And also the other one is communication, just giving the people impression that they are not being judged or they are not being ridiculed by the comments that they're making. And it's okay to make a mistake. Not being afraid of making mistake is also helping them feel that they're part of this community. They're welcome in this community.
Very nice. I like that a lot. So I'm listening to all these great things about your career and in Amazon and being a mother, and I'm fascinated. This has been excellent. And I don't really know. So can you tell me, where did you grow up? I want to hear more about sort of the Golbarg origin story. Where are you from?
Sure. Yeah, I grew up actually in the northwestern part of Iran. So it's a small city in the border of Iran and Turkey. So my mother tongue is Turkish. And but like the formal language that they speak in Iran is Farsi. So you all might have heard in the news that it's not easy to be a female in Iran neither. So that's especially these days in the press, in the news. I'm very proud of all the females in my country that they are standing up for their rights and for their freedom as well. So I think that also I think being part of this country, there are many great things that my country, the culture of the people in my country, they're amazing. I think they many of the things that contributed to my success so far are coming from my background and where I'm coming from. But that's unfortunate that there's still this inequality that we see that's going on for many of the females in my country.
Absolutely. That's been very difficult to watch. And while I've traveled the world and seen many places, I've never been to Iran and don't know much about it. Are there any kinds of traditions or celebrations or annual festivals? Teach me something about Iran that will help me be more inclusive and knowledgeable, if you would.
Sure. I think one of the nicest things that I always liked growing up is we do celebrate the first day of spring, which is March 21st. As our new year. So in Iran, we do have solar calendars. So our Iranian year starts at March 21st, which is the first day of spring. And that's the event that we call it Nowruz. No meaning new, Ruz means day in Farsi.
Okay.
So that is very close to basically nature. So the last Wednesday of each year, we start celebrating basically with fireworks that we are approaching toward Nowruz, toward like spring. And there is some rituals going on that day. And also on the 13th of the new year, that's called the nature day, that people usually go to basically gatherings in nature and spend the whole day outside in the nature. So this has been growing up one of the biggest events, like for many, I would say, Iranian, because we get to like visit families and just pay visit to some people that we don't interact, like we don't get to see on the day-to-day life. So, and for kids, there's always gifts similar to Christmas time, like in here. So there are always gifts and like a lot of sweets that people prepare. So this is one of the traditions, not only necessarily in Iran, there are all the Persian ethnicities are basically taking this. In other countries in Middle East, you would see that, but it's a big event in Iran.
Wonderful. Well, that's great to know. I appreciate learning something new all the time. So if I think about, I get inspired by certain parts of my job, or I want to bring my best self to the office or to my work or to my family. Is there anything that inspires you or really kind of lights you up to really bring out the best Golbarg? Does that question make sense?
Yep, absolutely. I think there are many things that's inspiring for me, but one of the most important one is basically this being productive, making an impact in people's life. I think this is very close in choosing any job. That's the first question that I would basically ask my question is what I'm going to do, is that going to bring ease to people's life? Is that going to help people? And this impact thing, I think that's the most important one. On the personal side, the learnings, of course, that's another inspiring point for me. And Amazon is doing a great job in offering us like impactful, challenging project. There's always learning there. But at the same time, like in this new role that I'm taking as manager, helping people, helping others, like easing some of the pains or challenges some of the people that could face. And that is something like in my day-to-day interaction with my reports, if I can alleviate one of even the smallest pain that they are going through, I think that makes my day. I mean, it could be from a tip, how they can do like basically better interactions with product partners, tech partners, or how our brainstorming sessions through like our science meetings. And all of this are very basically fills me with a lot of joy to do my day-to-day job.
Excellent. And I've heard a common theme through many of your responses, and that's learning, which I'm totally aligned with. What is one thing you wish you would have known at the beginning of your career that maybe could have helped, benefited you in some way that you do know now?
Yeah, I think given my background and like all the academic studies that I have taken, it's pretty much I was coming from that background. Okay, we have to try hard and we have to be successful at the first shot. But working at industry and especially working at Amazon, what taught me is it's okay to fail. It's okay. They're always learning in failing. So, and my leaders also foster that failing very well. So I wish, from the first day, I think that I started my job, I wouldn't be frightened with this failing idea because they're taking risk, failing. There's always the big plus for that. That's learning. And that is basically the learnings doesn't come that easy without this trying and failing. But I think that also, I would say I was lucky that I get to this point not so late in my career because I always had leaders that fostered that environment for me. So I think that would be the first big thing that I would wish that I would have known that even earlier. And the other one is networking. I feel like having a larger network, it's always contributing to learning as well. There are different peoples from different backgrounds we interact with. So that is something that I started building like larger networks, not from very first days of my graduate studies, but throughout like my experience, my network build like grown a lot. But there are many opportunities that people can take to expand their network that I would say that is one of the things that I wish I would have started earlier.
Okay, very good. Well, I have one final question for you then. If I think about, everything we've talked about and your very interesting academic career, your professional career, if there's somebody out there listening to this thinking, man, I'd like to be the next Golbarg, if that's possible, of course, what advice would you give to someone who wants to pursue a career path or a career direction similar to yours, Golbarg?
Sure. I think the biggest one is basically having great coaches and mentors. And it comes hand in hand with building their networks that I just touched on it. I have been mentoring for many of the juniors that are coming to our team or our partner teams in Amazon that they're science focused as well. The first advice that I give to them is try to have few mentors. Because not only the mentors within your org, it's good always to have like mentors and coaches outside the org as well. I think that is something that people from different backgrounds and expanding this network people could benefit from. It gives this bigger vision, what's going on like in our field as in general in operations research, what's going on in other org teams within Amazon, what's going on within our team in Amazon. So getting that heartbeat of like your career, your major, your company, all of this is very valuable. And I would say that I would always encourage them. Sometimes it's hard to find good mentors, but that's definitely the effort that's totally worth it. And it pays off in long run. And my recommendation would be not always just when we are saying iterating, emphasizing on building this network, we are not necessarily focusing on some other or scientist people with exactly our background. Sometimes having mentors and building these connections outside of our area of expertise, like working with tech people or working with the product people, that also opens up some opportunities and also learnings for us. Because at the end of the day, I would say that in order to deliver in Amazon successful product or in any other delivering an impactful product in any place, that would require many backgrounds, many different people working together. The more of these backgrounds we know, the more people in these areas we know would be beneficial in the long run for us.
Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate your time today. It's been fascinating getting to know you better. And I thank you so much for talking with today, Golbarg. It's been a pleasure.
It has been a pleasure talking to you, Scott. Thanks for having me.